What's up, y'all? With the drop of 0.2 for Path of Exile 2, there's been a lot of chatter on the internet, and while the meme game is strong and I appreciate it, I wanted to take a look at the vision that GGG talks about all the time and discuss what happened. If you go to forums and watch any of the streamers or any YouTube videos or whatever, you'll see that a lot of people seem to agree with the idea of a more meaningful combat in an ARPG. While some players want to go into a map, hit one button, and clear the whole screen, I think that there is a lot of the player base that would like the quote-unquote slower combat. But to get started, I want to show a clip of this video that I found from 2021 where Jonathan is showing the Huntress gameplay. And I'll just play a little clip of that and then we'll talk on the other side of it.
Path of Exile 2 is a lot more than just new acts. We want combat to feel both brutal and responsive, even at low levels. We're ensuring that each weapon type has unique and different mechanics. Each weapon class feels different to play, and today we're going to start by demonstrating the new Spear weapon class. Spears are a weapon class favoring mobility with both melee and ranged attack options. To that end, each spear will grant you at least one mobility skill. In this case, the spear comes with both an engage and disengage skill. When you engage, it increases your melee damage for a short time, and that really encourages you to be mobile during combat. One of the skills we're using here is called Whirling Slash. When you use Whirling Slash, it creates a sandstorm that grows in size each time you use the skill. When you leave the sandstorm, it explodes, dealing damage to nearby monsters. A great way to do that is to use the Disengage skill, which makes you fly backwards and throw projectiles. In PoE 2, each area's mini-boss is a much more substantial fight with interesting mechanics. You'll be able to find at least one mini-boss in each area of the game. One thing I love about this boss in particular is that it destroys the ceiling when it slams the ground, letting in more light. Clever players will notice that if they're standing in the light, then they're not going to have any rocks falling on their head. The Rapid Assault skill that we're using against this boss does 3 rapid stabs, followed by a 4th stab that deals more damage and can stun, if you're willing to commit to a long attack time. While developing the skills for Path of Exile 2, we were really thinking a lot about designing skills that could be cancelled early to dodge, or you can commit to the full attack for maximum damage.
That gameplay looked really fun, and if you read the comments and everything, people were really excited whenever this was demonstrated. But this is not the Huntress that we got. I don't know where the change came about, but I do want to, instead of just saying, PoE too bad, I want to give some example solutions for what I think would get the player back to, get more people back to enjoying it. Really, that's the main point of the game, right? Is to have people play, have fun, and GGG makes money, and everyone's happy. So to start with some of the more prominent complaints that I see on forums, and they're the same complaints that I have, to be honest. I'll start with map size. For me, the size of the map itself is not really the issue. It's the player speed in combination with the size of the map. So there's only kind of 2 options that GGG has here. One is going to be increase the base movement speed for the player or reduce the map size. That's the only way that's really going to feel right for the player. One idea I have is, since they've just introduced the exiles into this new season, why not have them come and hunt the player down whenever the mob count gets low on a map? I mean, they're generated and they know how many are in the map whenever it gets loaded, right? So when that gets low, have one of the exiles, or multiple even, come hunt them down while they're having to trek back through an otherwise empty map. It would give the players something to potentially look forward to. It might encourage more full map clears if they can trigger an exile coming to hunt them down and potentially get some loot. Gear progression. This one is a pretty big one. I know that GGG is going to be talking to Zizarin tomorrow, but in their update that they posted on the forums, I didn't see anything talking about the lack of loot. I know that it was addressed at the initial release of early access, but I'm hoping that this is something that gets addressed, because as someone who plays solo self-found exclusively, it can be a real struggle sometimes. I went to fight Jamunra in my latest playthrough, and I had a level 10 weapon, and because I couldn't find anything else. It just felt really bad. I think power spikes every 10 levels instead of 20 to 30 would feel a lot better. Increasing the drop rates. I'm struggling to understand the thought process behind making basic gear so damn rare. I understand the big, the huge power spikes they're trying to avoid getting out of control, but it needs to be a smooth curve from 1 to end of campaign, right? And right now it currently isn't. Combat. Combat's one of the main drivers for me. I do enjoy getting the dopamine hit from loot drops as well, but for me to go out and grind these maps, the combat has to be fun. And there's a few things that make it not fun for me. Micro stuns is one of the biggest things. I fucking hate it, and I think it should be removed from the game. They have a mechanic where if you hold your shield up for too long and just keep blocking, you'll get stunned. They need something like that, right? When you get jumped by a pack of 12 to 15 mobs and you go to try to cast something, or even just use a melee auto attack or whatever, and these micro stuns happen, then you do no damage and then you die. It's silly and doesn't need to be there. This one gets talked about a whole lot, and that's the monster speed versus the player speed. They need to match up. There's no two ways about it. People are not having fun. I don't have fun when I feel that I just get swarmed and then I get pushed into a corner and die, because I can't keep up with the speed. The combo stuff. So it seems like GGG is really pushing us towards the combo playstyle, but it's just not working with the current speed of the mobs and the health of the mobs. So make those work. We need payoff for completing a combo. Right now we currently don't have that. Tuning certain affixes. I don't know about you guys, but when I see the big blue circle of mana drain, I immediately restart at the save point. I am not, it drains way too fast and it's not fun. And the same with the invulnerability affix. It lasts too long and is cast too frequently. So the window for getting damage in, I was in Ogham Fields this run through, and I think I had 4 rares that had that affix, and it took fucking forever to get those guys down. It's just the window is way too small, especially early game when you do such low damage. Tune it, right? And, to wrap up like the combat, meaningful does not equal slow. Just look at the video that I showed a little bit earlier. That combat is still like a pretty good pace, in my opinion. The lack of build variety and ability to experiment. With the way that the monsters behave currently, it's no secret that there's only one style of gameplay that fits in the current iteration, and that is to kill them before they kill you, and that you get about half a second to do so. So people are building these builds that clear a whole screens in the click of a button because it's the only way to progress. They need to match those things up. Otherwise, that's all we're going to get is the full screen clearing builds. No real choice in gear, and what I mean on this one is mostly to do with like boots, right? How many of you have passed up a really good set of boots because it didn't have movement speed on it? So if they fix that, then people can start having some choices in gear, right? And this also kind of goes in with armor not really working, right? Why does everybody have ES? Because that's the only one that is really good at high tier maps. I'd say the lack of gold is discouraging to experimentation. So I don't think that you necessarily need free respecs. I think there needs to be a balance between the cost of the respecs and how much gold is being dropped. I understand you don't want people to be just like uber rich or whatever, but you do have the gold sink with gambling. But yeah, for me, if I get to, I don't know, probably around level 30 or so, and if I wanted to try something else out, I haven't gotten enough gold yet to go and do a full respec. And I think that needs to be fixed in order for people to go experiment, right? Because just because I scuffed up a build, I may not want to re-roll just to fix it. And if I had the gold to do it, then I would continue playing that character. Gem drops. Spirit gems are way too fucking rare. I don't know why they are so rare. I think I've had 3 this current playthrough at the, I'm not counting the guaranteed ones that you get. So I guess I've had 2. Also included that is the support gems. They're way, way too rare. I don't understand why we're not just dropping all over the place. You have hundreds of support gem possibilities, but you get like 3 or 4 drops through Act 1 if you're unlucky on that run. So what do people do? They go to the streamers or forums or whatever and find out which ones are good because they're such a valuable resource that you can't afford to try different things out. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was ascendancies. I don't think that there's no wow factor to them, for me anyway, and I think that other players probably feel the same way. You get in there and you ascend, and it takes a lot of work sometimes, and the trials can be pretty difficult, especially for newer players to the game or to the genre. And when they finally overcome that obstacle and they go in and they choose an ascendancy and then it's nothing but downsides, it takes away all the fun, right? I think that they need to be, something with wow factor, something with pop, and not just like an extra 15 slots to your inventory. That's pretty weak. Come on. And, I'm not wanting to bash the developers. I think they've done a really good job. But I think a lot of the complaint that you see, it goes to show that people really are enjoying the idea that GGG is selling us, but their implementation so far has been lackluster, to say the least. I'll reference the video that we showed at the beginning again. That got people really excited, and you can go to any YouTube channel from the last few years before the release of early access, and people were so excited about it because but we got something that was different than what was shown in the beginning. And I understand that games change over time, but the core mechanics just don't seem to be there. And I don't understand what happened to their vision. I'm hoping that it's not, the typical in-shitification of trying to artificially slow down play so that people are in the game longer, because I'll look at D4, right? That's what they try to do, push monetization to the front, and people aren't playing it. And I really hope that that's not the case with PoE 2, because I think the bones are really, really good. And I just hope that they start taking some of the feedback and making some changes that players will enjoy. Anyway, that's sort of my soapbox / rant, I guess. If you have ideas for improving the game, post them in the comments below. I'd really like to get the conversation going and hopefully get some points out there to the developers, to Jonathan and Mark. And instead of just shitting on the game, saying PoE too bad, let's give them some ideas on how to fix things and make it more enjoyable so that we can keep playing this game for a long time. Anyway, that's all I have. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.